Hello. It's April 20th and time for Proverbs 20. And today is Resurrection Sunday. We commemorate the day that the ladies, Marys, went to the tomb to anoint the body of Jesus and found the tomb empty. An angel said to her, "He is not here, for he has risen." Right? The most important day ever in the history of the world, right? So let's do Proverbs 20. Wine is a mocker and beer a brawler, or mixed drinks, it says over here. Whoever is led astray by them is not wise. The king's wrath strikes terror like the roar of a lion. Those who anger him forfeit their lives. He's talking about kings, right? Could be talking about our king, right? Jesus. Don't want to anger him, right? I wouldn't want to anger him. Hey. It is to one's honor to avoid strife, but every fool is quick to quarrel. Right? It says all over Proverbs, just let it go, right? Love covers all offenses. Just let it go, right? But every fool is quick to quarrel. Sluggards do not plow in season, so at harvest time they look and find nothing. True. You think about farmers, how much planning it takes. They don't just go out and take their crops and take them to market and make their money. First they have to prepare the ground, and they have to plow many months ahead of time and season the ground and turn their crops, and then they have to get the seeds and plant the seeds and water them and keep the weeds away, and a lot of work. Okay, farmers do a lot of work. 5, the purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight, it draws them out. That's a good saying, right? The counsel of the heart of man is like deep waters, right? It is hard to find out, for it is as deep waters whose bottoms cannot be found. Yet the wise man will know a man either by his words or his manners, right? Find a good counselor, okay? Counselors are very blessed. They have gifts, and many pastors, to find things that are buried deep down in the deep waters of your soul and help you deal with those, okay? And there is no shame in that. Okay? 6, many claim to have unfailing love, but a faithful person who can find? So that her many men will boast everyone of his own goodness. Right. The only way to find a faithful person is to get in a lot of trouble and see who's still around, right? Like Jesus. How do I know that Jesus is real? Well, 13 people would rather be executed, okay? They went to their deaths claiming that Jesus was alive, okay? That should be all the proof you need. All they had to do was deny Jesus, and they would have been set free and let go to live their lives. But they didn't. When threatened with death and executed and crucified to their very death, they said, Jesus is alive. Okay? That should be all the proof you need. 7, the righteous lead blameless lives. Blessed are their children after them. Those righteous. The righteous lead blameless lives. 8, when a king sits on his throne to judge, he winnows out the evil with his eyes. We don't have kings today. Who could say, I have kept my heart pure, I am clean without sin? Right? Who can say that? Nobody can say that, right? As in Romans, for all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, every one. question, right? 10 different weights and differing measures. The Lord detests them both. He talks about this a lot, about cheating people, right? The Lord detests cheating people, and people get cheated every single day. Even now, at the grocery store, right? I remember not so long ago, coffee was sold by the pound. You got to buy a pound of coffee and you get a pound of coffee. Now the containers are the same size, but now there's only 12 ounces in there, 3/4 of a pound. They have cheated you out of 1/4 of a pound, and they're charging you more money for it, okay? Differing weights and differing measures. The Lord detests that, just so you know, okay? Even small children are known by their actions, so is their conduct really pure and upright? Okay? Lots of people think that children are born innocent, and they are for 1 second, okay? But the world is evil, right? And from the original sin, everybody's fallen into sin. Children are sinners, okay? I heard somebody arguing with a pastor once, or might have been one of the famous doctors. Children are innocent, and then somebody will ask them, "Let me ask you this: who taught your child how to lie?" Okay? The first time they accidentally knock over a vase or they break something, you walk in the room, your tiny little child. "Did you break this?" "No, it wasn't me." Okay? Who taught them how to do that? Okay? You didn't teach them to lie, right? Children are known by by their actions, what they do. Interesting to think about, huh? 12 ears that hear and eyes that see, the Lord has made them both. The Lord made everything. 13, do not love sleep or you will grow poor. Stay awake and you will have food to spare. Right? Don't be lazy. There are lazy people. The world has made it easy to be lazy nowadays. They will give you money to do nothing. Okay? If that ended, it used to be that just the church took care of the needy, the ones who were truly poor and needy. And the other ones they had to work. If you wanted to eat, it says all over the Bible, if you want to eat, you have to work, right? Just you can expound on any of these verses. It's no good, says the buyer. Then he goes off and boasts about the purchase. Ever seen people like this? Well, this kind of goes along with, make it pink. Differing weights and differing measures. That's the seller cheating the buyer, okay? This is the buyer cheating the seller. It goes both ways, okay? And this is just a statement. It's not a question. Somebody will talk something, "Oh, that's not very good, and it's not, I'll give you half for it just to get it off your hands," right? And then he'll go away and say, "You wouldn't believe the deal I got on this thing right there because I lied to the person and I told him it wasn't any good when I knew that it was." Okay? Both ways. Ears that hear and eyes that see, the Lord has made them both. The Lord sees everything. Okay? Think about that. Gold there is, and rubies in abundance, but the lips that speak knowledge are a rare jewel. Right? Wisdom, and this says all over Proverbs too, wisdom is more valuable than silver or gold or jewels. Right? Take the garment of one who puts up security for a stranger. Hold it in pledge if it is done for an outsider. He mentions this at least 10 times in Proverbs, right? This is co-signing for somebody else's loan. Okay? It says don't do it. Okay? And it says if you must, like sometimes It's if your child, your son needs a car and he's got a new job, Dad, I really need a car so I can go to work. Okay. I will co-sign for you to get a car, but I'm going to need a collateral. Okay. I'm going to need your dirt bike. Okay. I'm going to take your dirt bike. I'm going to take your Xbox, and I'm going to hold on to those. Okay. So if I have to pay your loan off, I can sell that stuff and get my money back. Okay. It's collateral. Okay. Banks do it. If you're buying a car, the bank is going to use the car as collateral, so you can't use the car as collateral. Yeah. So I suppose if you pay it off, you could take the car, but get a collateral if you must. Better off if you don't do it at all, right? 17, food gained by fraud tastes sweet, but it ends up with a mouthful of gravel. That stuff is never blessed. The bread of deceit is sweet to a man, but afterward his mouth shall be filled with gravel. Right? Does not go down well. You can make a whole sermon out of that too, right? Plans are established by seeking advice. So if you wage war, obtain guidance, right? Plans are established by seeking advice, right? If you're making plans, always get advice. There will always be somebody who has done it successfully and people who have failed at it. And both of them will be glad to tell you, right? When you're making plans, do this, don't do that. It doesn't work, right? Gossip betrays a confidence, so avoid anyone who talks too much. Okay. Gossip is one of the things God hates, and I absolutely hate gossip. Okay. If somebody tells you something in confidence, I need prayer for this. Please don't tell anybody. And you go around telling people, right? Even if I mean it for good. Bob did so-and-so. We need to pray for him because he's done that. You have just betrayed a confidence. Okay. You are now a gossip, right? And people will avoid you, especially when it gets back to Bob. And somebody else comes up to him and says, I'm sorry to hear that this has happened. I'm praying for you. How did you find out? Well, Bob told me. Okay. I told Bob not to tell anybody. So now Bob just, Bob will never talk to you again. And everybody else will know that you are a gossip. Okay. That tears apart churches. Okay. It's just horrible stuff. 20, if someone curses their father or mother, their lamp will be snuffed out in pitch darkness. Right. God thought it was important enough to put it in one of the 10 commandments, honor your father and mother. Right? And it's one of the only commandments with a caveat, okay? That your life may go well. Something like that. Okay. 21, an inheritance claimed too soon will not be blessed at the end. Right. People who get money too quick, they burn through it all, okay? I know personally somebody whose parents were married for 70 years. They spent 70 years saving and scrimping, right? And when they died, their 3 children split a couple $1 million inheritance, okay? So they each got, well over close to $500,000. 2 of them were broke in a year. After 70 years of saving, 2 of them spent it all foolishly and were broke in a year. And it happens. An inheritance claimed too soon will not be blessed at the end. And if you have been very blessed with wealth and good children, right, it's a good idea to have a trust, okay? You spend all your life collecting this and you want your children to be broke in a year, okay? A trust. So if you have $1 million you're going to give to your kid, give them a trust, okay? You can have a $50,000 a year for 20 years. No more, no less. That will force them to be frugal, right? 22, do not say, I will pay you back for this wrong. Wait for the Lord, and he will avenge you. Okay, that's important. Don't get even, okay? Never get even. Why? Right? If somebody sins against you, that's a horrible thing to you. God sees that. He sees the sinner doing a horrible thing. If you do the same thing or worse to pay them back, God sees you sinning and doing a horrible thing. You are no better than the person that wronged you. Right? Wait for the Lord, and he will avenge you. Hard to do, but it will happen. Okay? There's another one. We already read this. The Lord detests differing weights, and dishonest scales do not please him. Okay? Said that up there. Okay? And he says this a lot. He doesn't like cheating people. Okay? The Lord doesn't like people cheating other people. Right? And they used to weigh everything back then. Okay? If you're buying a pound of cloth or a pound of beans or a pound of anything, and they would put it on a scale, and this is a 1 pound weight, but it's not a 1 pound weight. Okay? If you have hollowed it out and put lead in there so it's heavier, okay, or hollowed it out so it's lighter, so it's not a pound, and you're cheating people, right? The Lord detests cheating people, right? 24, a person's steps are directed by the Lord. How then can anyone understand their own way, right? You can't see the future, okay? You don't know where you're going. God knows where you're going, okay? If you follow the Lord and fear the Lord, he will direct your steps. And you have faith that you will end up in a good place because the Lord takes you to good places, right? 25, it's a trap to dedicate something rashly and only later consider one's vows. This happens a lot too, okay? Happens a lot too. Lord, if you get me out of this, I'll give you 50% of my income forever. Okay? You made a vow. The Lord gets you out of that. I can't afford to give you 50% of my income. Okay? That's a trap. To dedicate something rashly and only later to consider one's vows. 26, a wise king winnows out the wicked and drives the threshing wheel over them. That makes for a mental picture, doesn't it? 27, the human spirit is the lamp of the Lord that sheds light on one's inmost being. That is a very important statement, okay? Person's words. The light of the Lord is the breath of man. He searcheth all the bowels of the belly. The word of God giveth life unto man, and causeth us to see and try the secret of our dark hearts. And it has Hebrews on there. So the human spirit, we know we have a spirit, okay, the human spirit. Okay, God has a spirit. We are made in the image of God. Okay, we have a soul, a body, and a spirit, right? 3 parts. Human spirit is the light. Okay, and sometimes you can, if people draw it, they draw a light emanating from somebody. That's the human spirit, right? That's the lamp of the Lord. God uses that to look into the darkest places, okay? And it talks a lot about a crushed spirit and how it is the hardest thing, right, to fix is a crushed spirit. Okay? Many homeless people are there because they have crushed spirits, right? Not because they choose to be that way, okay? If you talk to them and get their stories and find out, why are you here? Why are you homeless? What happened to you? You'll get a lot of different stories, right? One story that I personally heard, okay? My wife or my husband died of cancer. The doctors and the hospitals took every penny we had. I sold my house. I sold everything to cure him. And he died anyways. and I had nothing, and I was broke, and your spirit is crushed, right? Your mate is gone, and you have nothing, right? There are people who have lost family members to accidents. A drunk driver killed my wife and my son, and I lost it. Happens. Okay, they're not all out there just because they're lazy and don't want to work. Many poor people have a crushed spirit, which is very hard to get away from. Okay. 28. That's a deep statement, isn't it? 28. Love and faithfulness keep a king safe. Through love, his throne is made secure. Right? Love. 29. The glory of young men is their strength. Gray hair is the splendor of the old. Right? I think has to be because we have no strength left, right? After working all our lives. 30. Blows and wounds scrub away evil, and beatings purge the inmost being. Right? Sometimes that's what it takes, right? All right, there you go. That's Proverbs 20. That's good stuff. Let's go over our highlights here. It is to one's honor to avoid strife, but every fool is quick to quarrel. Right? Every fool is quick to jump into a fight. It's an honor. It is one's honor to avoid that. Honor. Okay, the purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out. Right? A counselor can do this. There is no shame in going to a counselor, okay, if you're dealing with stuff. A good pastor can draw it out. A good friend who has known you for a long time, right, can draw these deep things out. Okay. 7. I put this because the righteous, I'm saving all the righteous ones together. Right? The righteous lead blameless lives. Blessed are their children after them. Okay? Righteous. When you be righteous, never tell a lie, right? If you never tell a lie, you'll never have to remember anything. Mark Twain said that. Okay? A blameless life. 9. Who could say, I've kept my heart pure, I'm clean and without sin? No one can say that, okay? That's a rhetorical question. For all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Everyone. The only perfect person to ever live on earth was Jesus, okay? Who became sin for everybody. Okay? 11. Even small children are known by their actions, so is their conduct really pure and upright? No. Children are sinners. It's hard to say, but children are sinners. You can watch kids playing on a playground, and you can tell the good ones from the ones who are, not evil, but mischievous, they call it. It's no good, says the buyer, and then goes off and boasts about the purchase. Okay? That's cheating a buyer, okay? There's lots of talk about cheating, about sellers who cheat buyers, okay? This is the only verse where it talks about the buyer cheating the seller. Right? And it happens. You lied to him, okay? You lied to him to pay him less for something he was selling. And then you're going to go and boast to people about the good deal. This is worth so much money. Right? Okay, 16. Take the garment of one who puts up security for a stranger. Hold it in pledge if it is done for an outsider. Okay? As if you have to co-sign for some, usually your kids, okay? You have to co-sign and help somebody out. Get a collateral, okay? Get a collateral, all right? Hold it in pledge if it is done for an outsider. He is borrowing money from a bank or a car dealer or somebody. That's an outsider. You don't know that person, okay? But that person is going to use your good credit history to get money if your son doesn't pay for that car. You have to get a collateral. Just get a collateral, right? It says here, take the garment. Back then, the most expensive thing somebody had was their outer cloak, okay? Because they weren't made like they were today. They weren't sewn together. It was made as one piece, okay? It was woven as one piece to be that, and they were very expensive, okay? Okay, 18. Plans are established by seeking advice. Always get advice. It says here, if you wage war, obtain guidance, which is a good idea too. But right, seek advice. Always get advice. There will always be somebody that is glad to give you advice. And specifically look for people that have been successful at what you're trying to do. Okay. If you want to start a restaurant, coffee shop, or a business, find people that are successful in that business. They will be glad to tell you how they did it. They will be glad to tell you, this doesn't work. I tried this and failed at it. And this does work. Right? Get that advice first. It's very, very important. Okay? 19. A gossip betrays a confidence, so avoid anyone who talks too much. Right? If you look around church and you find somebody that's just talking and going to everybody and talking, is that the kind of person you want to tell your secrets to? Not me. Okay? Avoid somebody that talks. Find the quiet person. Okay? A wise person will always keep quiet. Find the quiet person. Right? Sitting alone. That'll be the wise person. That's the person you can tell something to in confidence. Okay? Okay, 22, do not say I'll pay you back for this wrong. Wait for the Lord and he will avenge you. And we talked about this, okay? If you pay somebody back for a wrong, you are now committing the same sin that they did, okay? God sees two sinners. Let the Lord do it, okay? In 25, it is a trap to dedicate something rashly and only later to consider one's vows, okay? And if you get me out of this problem, I will do this forever. But that's something you can't do, okay? And God's going to call you to it. Hold you to that. You said. That's a trap. And 27. The human spirit is the lamp of the Lord. It sheds light on one's inmost being. And we kind of tore that apart, okay? It's your light. God uses your light to look into your dark places, right? So, there you go. That is Proverbs 20 for Resurrection Sunday. We talked a lot, huh? Okay, we are reading more of Luke 15 later through the New Testament in a year today. So, there you have it. Give us a like if you think about it. And later we'll continue. See you next time.